Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, West and South Mississippi are forecast to be dry through the end of April.
There are concerns that the way genetically engineered alfalfa is being treated will have long-term effects for other GE crops.
In southern gardening, it may be winter, but you can still have the color, even red.
In the markets, the cotton trade this week is being described as crazy by some, as U.S. catfish prices and processing move in the same direction.
In the feature segment, two small Mississippi dairies are capturing more value from their milk by selling their own milk and milk products to local customers.
Me and my wife were at Walmart one night buying groceries and saw some organic milk, and noticed it like it was selling pretty good. But what got me was it came from Colorado. When you know the big thing now, maybe not organic or this or that, you can label it a lot of different ways, but anything local. We see at our farmers markets, local produce sales outstanding.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artist Ford. Welcome to Farm Week.
It could be a dry spring for Mississippi farmers.
Leighton, the long-term drought outlook is not good for South Mississippi. The National Weather Service says a drought is affecting all the Gulf Coast states, with Florida and Texas hit the hardest. As of right now, the National Weather Service characterizes most of Mississippi Delta and South Mississippi as being anywhere from abnormally dry to severe drought. For most of the rest of the state, except for the northeast central part of the state, that part of the state's described as abnormally dry. Now, looking out into the end of April, the drought is expected to persist in South Mississippi. Some improvement is forecast for the Mississippi Delta. No drought is predicted in the balance of the state.
Since their introduction, genetically engineered plants and animals have been praised and vilified. Late last year, USDA issued a rule paving the way for GE alfalfa plantings. But there was a catch. In that decision, 3 options were given for final approval after a 30-day comment period. The one favored by USDA, option 3, limits the distance the new alfalfa can be planted from its conventional counterpart. Market to Market's Mark Pearson reports.
At issue is not the policy per se, but the precedent set by the previously unpublished rule. If the so-called third option is adopted, then other GE products could potentially be approved with special conditions that would restrict free use by farmers. The new alfalfa variety has been certified as posing no plant pest risk by EPA, FDA, and USDA. In response to farmer complaints, the House Agriculture Committee called Secretary of Agriculture Tom Vilsack to testify.
We are concerned that option 3 would have a negative impact on all U.S. agriculture. Concerns have been raised that this option was developed to prevent future lawsuits by addressing coexistence between conventional and organic production. That's a political objective and is outside of the scope of the legal authority.
Among the lawsuits inherited by Secretary Vilsack was one for GE sweet potatoes, which is still moving through the courts, and one for Roundup Ready alfalfa. Vilsack cited his authority under the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, or APHIS, to regulate or deregulate GE plants.
The procedural legal challenges related to GE sugar beets and GE alfalfa have taken years. APHIS made its initial decision, as the chairman indicated, to deregulate GE alfalfa in June of 2005. Yet here we are nearly 6 years later with a process not yet concluded. As these cases continue, the market uncertainty increases, and those involved in agriculture lack sufficient guidance for planning and determining how to react or which products to use.
Chuck Connor, CEO of the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives, also gave testimony. Connor, the former acting Secretary of Agriculture during the Bush administration, says his group represents a majority of the nation's 2 million farmers.
It is my belief that attempting to mediate disputes between interest groups in conjunction with a specific regulatory decision for a biotech product would set a precedent that is in direct conflict with the longstanding adherence and the rule of law relative to science-based regulation for biotech crops in the United States.
The so-called third option restricts planting of the new variety within 5 miles of non-GE alfalfa. According to Connor, this restricts planting on 20% of the acres where the forage crop is normally grown. The 30-day comment period for the controversial rule will expire later this month. There is no word on which option will be adopted.
Even without flowers, woody plants can brighten the winter landscape. And this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman will show us some woody plants with good red foliage.
Woody plants with colorful foliage can brighten any winter landscape. Today I'm at Rocky Creek Nursery in Loosedale to look at woody plants with good burgundy color. A favorite of mine is the red barberry. Known botanically as Berberis thunbergii atropurpurea, the name literally means burgundy leaf. When grown in the full sun, the foliage on the arching stems is a dark blood red. The new foliage of rose glow barberry is pinkish rose with deeper red-purple mottling, but care is needed when handling due to the sharp spines. Purple loropetalum is a standout plant. This robust shrub is perfect for a lower maintenance choice. The branches are arching and create a layered effect. The slender brown stems have a woolly texture. The purplish red flowers have 4 strap-like petals and are arranged in groups, giving a feathery appearance. Japanese cleara is a solid performer when used as an accent in the landscape. The foliage is thick and leathery with bright red petioles. The new leaves emerge reddish bronze and matures to a lustrous dark green. In the fall and winter, the foliage develops a rich bronze red color. When shopping for container-grown plants, be sure to take a look at the root system. Gently remove the container. Healthy roots are a bright white color. This will also let you know if the plant is root-bound, which is something you want to avoid. These shrubs transplant well, and as long as you can dig in the soil, you can add them to your landscape. I'm Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Gary says now is a great time to plant woody plants so you can have red foliage this year. In our feature segment today, meet 2 Mississippi dairy families who have brought the past forward to the present. They bottle and sell their own milk and dairy products. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And Leighton, we've got our early forecast of planting intentions.
That's right, Artist. Informa Economics has said this past week it expects to see increases in corn and cotton acreage. Now, of course, the annual Cotton Council survey, that's coming out next week, I believe, and then we still wait a couple more months to the government's numbers. That'll be the end of March. But back to what's happening in the markets this week. Cotton prices, they surge higher this week. U.S. chicken supplies in cold storage increase, while U.S. catfish processing is up. We begin in the market with the wild price action, as DTN described it, the cotton market. U.S. weekly export sales numbers topped expectations, and as of Thursday morning, cotton futures surged overnight to the 3rd new all-time high in 4 trading sessions. Extension economist John Michael Riley has been following all of this action. So, John Michael, is the bottom line here strong demand is fueling what's happening in cotton?
That's what we're seeing right now. We've been seeing that for a while. You know, you look at global production was very shaky this past year, and that led to a lot of supply shortages. On the other hand, you've got some strengthening economies across the globe, not only here in the U.S., but you know, look at China. Their economy's grown quite well. So all of that combined together is pushing demand higher while supply is in a crunch right now, and that's just been really has caused a lot of bullishness in cotton prices over the past since really mid-November.
Is the market really now focusing on U.S. spring planting here as we get closer to these reports that will indicate what will happen?
I think so. You know, right now corn cotton, soybeans, all of these are trying to buy their acres. We've seen a big push here lately with cotton prices, and I think that there is a concern as corn prices have risen and soybean prices have risen that they're not going to get the acres they need, and that's why we're seeing this, a lot of the reason behind why we're seeing this strength in prices.
So how is that going to play into what prices do here as we get towards March 31st and beyond?
It's going to be a battle. I really think it is. I think the other two commodities, corn and soybeans, they're in a supply crunch as well. I've been saying that all of these crops need every acre they can get, but there's only so many to go around. Cotton's in a really tight supply situation, so I think it's really going to be a fight as we proceed forward. We've seen the dollar weaken through since about early January, which has been really supportive for cotton prices, and if that continues, I think that there is some expectation that prices could continue to move higher.
So that would be your thought right now, that this surge in prices that we've seen this past week especially, that will continue near term?
All the signs point there. There's no guarantees in these markets anymore, but all the signs are pointing to, if not a higher prices, at least price levels where we're at right now.
The Chinese have made a big purchase of U.S. soybeans. That agreement is for the sale of 110 million bushels. The price tag on that purchase, $1.8 billion. China now imports 1 out of every 4 rows of soybeans grown in the U.S. This new purchase, by the way, took place in conjunction with the Chinese president's visit to the United States. Well, we're going to feature the weather in this week's trivia quiz, and our question for you is this. What is the coldest temperature ever recorded in Mississippi? -8, -15, -19, or -23 degrees? You'll find out coming up.
We're going to pause now for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the second half of the markets. Leighton Spann reports catfish prices are up. He'll also tell us what's happening to input prices for cattlemen. In the feature segment today, bottled at the source. 2 Mississippi dairy farm families are adding extra value to their milk by selling their own dairy products direct to the public.
Each year, many Mississippians are seriously injured or killed in farm tractor accidents. Transporting and lifting objects with a front loader requires extreme caution. Unsecured objects can roll or slide down the loader arms and injure the driver. To help prevent injuries, tractors should be equipped with a falling objects protection system. Always secure loads or use a bale spear or straps before lifting objects. A message from the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. 30 private pesticide applicator training sessions are scheduled for the balance of January and into February in Mississippi. This is a certification you need to buy restricted use pesticides. Contact your county extension service office for locations or the Farm Week website calendar. MSU is the site of the annual Mississippi Crop College. It's set for February 15th through the 17th on the Mississippi State University campus in Starkville. It's a great continuing education resource as well. We'll have a link on the Farm Week calendar to help you register. The North Mississippi Research and Extension Center Producer Advisory Council meeting takes place Thursday, February 17th. It gets underway at 8:30 a.m. at the Lee County Agri Center at Verona. It's a great opportunity for growers to influence the center's activities. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this Farm Week snapshot.
America's supply of chicken is up compared to a year ago. The government's monthly cold storage report is out. It shows a year-to-year increase attributed to increased slaughter rates and higher average weights. The USDA says there is a 25% more chicken in the nation's coolers now than this time last year. Also out is a government report showing that U.S. catfish prices are up. The monthly processing update shows that the average pond bank price being paid to U.S. producers in December was 86 cents per pound. That is 9 cents per pound above 1 year ago at the same time. Farm sales totaled close to 35 million pounds round weight, an increase of 3% from December 2009. Processor sales were almost 17 million pounds. That is an increase of 2% from a year ago. Although demand is described as really good for heavier weight feeder cattle this month, there is a problem in the beef sector. Input costs have been on the rise. But analyst Alan Brugler tells Mark Pearson on Market to Market that the cattle market seems to be rallying at the same points that input costs increase.
Cattle producers have a little bit of leverage there. Box beef prices are very high right now. Choice was over $173 this week at the wholesale level. The real question there is, as those prices flow through to the consumer level, to the meat case, will the U.S. consumer continue to pay for the beef, or will we have a demand problem? Now, that's offset to a degree by the export market. We're seeing a big uptick in beef exports.
And we seem to be moving hamburger. Packers I talked to say the retail demand's strong there and now hanging in there.
Retail demand is excellent, and we've reduced our imports of beef trimmings from Australia and Argentina and New Zealand, which are major contributors to that.
We'll answer our cold weather trivia question just ahead of the feature story on Farm Week. The coldest temperature ever recorded in Mississippi is minus 19 degrees. That happened in Corinth, Mississippi on January 30th, 1966. So C is the right answer this week.
In the feature segment today, Farm Week's Amy Taylor tells us about two Mississippi dairy farm families who bottle their own milk and then sell it direct to the public.
Yes, artists. While our nation's dairies continue to struggle, Billy Ray Brown of Oxford and Butch Smith of Poplarville have found unique opportunities for success. Each farm has found its own niche market, but they both profit through on-the-farm processing and by selling their products locally. Their stories put a new spin on the idea of old-fashioned family farming. Two Mississippi dairy farms are doing something many people said couldn't be done. In a tight economy, it's almost impossible to start a new business, particularly a dairy. But Billy Ray Brown of Oxford found a way to profit by thinking outside of the box. He explains what prompted him to sacrifice his full-time job building fences and start a dairy, even though he had never milked a cow before.
Never had in my mind ever to be a dairy farmer. I probably had beef cattle since I was 15 or 16. And all my life I'd hoped I could do that full time. And me and my wife were at Walmart one night buying groceries and saw some organic milk. And noticed it like it was selling pretty good. But what got me was it came from Colorado. When you know the big thing now, maybe not organic or this or that, you can label it a lot of different ways, but anything local. We see at our farmers markets, local produce sells outstanding.
And that's how the idea for Brown Family Dairy was born. They began selling milk in 2009, starting with 4 Jersey cows. Billy Ray, his wife Paula, and their children, Molly, Sarah, and Harris, all take part in the dairy. Molly says she loves living on the farm.
We have so much animals, we get to check on them every day, feed them. It's great, I love it. Every day I come out there, they're right there around them. It's amazing. I help, I'll open the gate for them, and I'll count 1, 2, 3, and I'll say the names. And then I'll give them paper towels and give them the dip that you put on there and you clean it.
As business grew, the Browns expanded to milking 12 cattle. One of the most unique qualities is the milk comes in glass bottles, giving a nod to the old days when it was delivered door to door. Brown explains how stores and customers can purchase milk.
If they're a first-time customer, they'll pay a deposit on that bottle along with the price of the milk, and they'll take that home. When they finish that, they bring the bottle back either to me at a farmer's market or to a store, hand them the bottle and get another one. They just basically buy their bottle the first time, and they bring it back every time and just exchange it. When we take milk to the store, we unload a load of milk and we load a thing of bottles.
Brown says he believes the bottles even give the milk a special taste. While Brown Family Dairy enjoys success in North Mississippi, a farm on the south end of the state has found its niche as well. In early 2010, Butch Smith and his family opened Country Girls Creamery near Poplarville. Smith talks about his dairy experience.
My dad's been a dairy farmer for about just a little over 30 years. Now, I never wanted to be a part of the farm, so I went to school. I became a nurse, but my girls began showing the cattle probably 4 years ago. So we were on the farm more, got involved in it more.
Smith says he and his family wanted to maximize the selection of value-added products. In addition to shipping 3/4 of the milk to a bulk dairy plant and delivering milk to stores and farmers markets, the Smiths sell other products. These include chocolate milk, sweet and savory cheeses, farmhouse cheddar, and plain and blueberry yogurt. In addition to buying products from the on-farm store, visitors can also tour the facility.
We do tours on the farm. I think our first tour was a smaller private school. We tell them, you know, where their milk comes from, what products can be made from milk, about dairy animals and the difference in dairy animals and beef animals, you know, what it takes to feed the animal to produce, you know, X pounds of milk. Then we show them what we have to offer in our storefront, what all we make here. We show them how we bottle the milk, how we make the cheese, and we allow them to see the cows being milked.
Smith says he and his father, Connell, take on the task of milking the 80-cow herd twice a day. The dairy was named Country Girls Creamery after his 3 daughters, Shannon, Lauren, and Gracie, and wife, Dawn, who also help on the farm. Dr. Lamar Adams, Mississippi State University Extension Dairy Specialist, explains that each farm has its own market because of location and size.
Location is the key and what market demographic you're shooting for. Again, the Brown facility up in Oxford is very unique in that it is a small startup operation. Mr. Brown does use the old-timey glass bottles. The Country Girls Creamery that the Smith family operates down around Poplarville, there again, it was an established herd milking 80 to 100 cows, and they have more milk that they can meet the bottled or fluid milk demands, as well as having milk to make into cheese, and they're also selling butter products.
Though on-farm processing has worked for the Brown and Smith families, many areas cannot support this type of market. It's important for those interested to do their homework first.
The first thing they need to do is to do a market analysis. The Mississippi State Extension Service, through the Animal and Dairy Science Department and Ag Economics Departments and others, can help do those type of assessments to be sure that the market is there.
MSU Extension can also help producers make sure they have the proper equipment according to Health Department standards.
These facilities are regulated by the Mississippi Department of Health, just as any food processing facility would be, so they have been trained on how to properly pasteurize these products. Pasteurization is a heat process that eliminates harmful microorganisms that may be present in the milk.
Both operations obtain their own pasteurizers, which heat the milk and hold it at 145 degrees for 30 minutes. Then the milk is cooled down to around 40 degrees before it's bottled. Milk is tested regularly by Mississippi Department of Health to ensure safety. And as for the cattle, both farms ensure excellent living conditions. The cows are mainly grass-fed and given free range in the pasture, and Smith feeds his calves in separate stalls to give them the right portions. Both producers testify their farms could not operate without the help of family and friends. Brown says he's proud to offer farm-fresh, safe products.
Anybody ought to show up at my farm anytime, unannounced, and see how my animals are treated, see how our facilities are operated, and that's what sells milk. In my opinion.
Personalizing the product is what Smith believes to be one of the best parts of running Country Girls Creamery.
It's not just making a bottle of milk. I mean, we raise the cows from calves. We bred our own cattle. The genetics that they have are all something that we put into it. The land, the grass we grow. You know, it doesn't seem so much like work when you have something that you can tell about and be proud of.
And sacrificing his small fencing business for farming taught Brown that you can find success against all odds.
A lot of folks told me there's not a way, you can't do it, but if you want it bad enough, there is a way to do it. That's always been our goal, is to make a living farming and be at home. And it's worth it. We sacrificed a lot, but I'm happier now than I've ever been.
Dairy Tales of Brown Family Dairy and Country Girls Creamery are the symbol of achieving success through old principles, proving the classic family farm is still very much alive. I'm Amy Taylor reporting. You can watch this story again on our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com. We'll also have the contact information for the Brown Family Dairy at Oxford and the Country Girls Creamery at Lumberton.
Well, Amy, you said that you've spoken to both of them. How are things going since that story last aired?
Things are going really well still. Billy Ray hasn't really expanded his market very much because he says he likes where he is, and things are going really well for him, but he has added a couple of cows to his to that unit, and he's now at 14 cattle. But Butch Smith has actually expanded a good bit. They added a store in Foxworth and in Richton, and he bought 30 cattle in October, and they also added mozzarella, sour cream, Creole, cream cheese, and whipping cream to their product list.
Wow.
So they've got a lot going on.
He's a busy man.
Right.
You know, a lot of this plays into, you hear a term now used called local vor, meaning people who want to eat things that have been grown locally, or, you know, or processed locally. So this is really playing into that sort of thing. And if you are in a market area where you've got more people that want that kind of thing, there is that niche, I should say. Get the word right.
If you're willing to work hard.
And it made a milk drinker out of me, so
well,
I'm a believer. You know.
That's saying something. Another thing too, though, is that it's work. I mean, dairying is work, just dairying. But when you start doing your own processing, when you're not milking, you're processing. So they are definitely people who are not afraid of hard work, of labor for sure. Good story, Amy.
Thank you.
Well, we are at the end of Farm Week here for this week. On our next show, we'll have 2 stories on energy options.
2 of the 80 wood pellet mills in the United States are located in Mississippi. Pellets are commonly used for heating and fuel in other areas of the country and world.
You'll also travel to Georgia, where a Mississippi State University developed grass promises to be a major biofuel.
It's colorful with white, yellow, orange,
And in Southern Gardening, how to have fresh vegetables even in the wintertime.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back next week.